Years ago, 28 days later, redefined horror with its terrifying vision of a world overrun by the rage virus. Instead of slow zombies, we got fast, furious infected, living people consumed by uncontrollable rage. Danny Boyle's direction and the empty streets of London made the fear feel real. Jim, waking from a coma, found civilization erased overnight. The infected weren't dead, they were lost to violence, making the threat immediate and personal. The film's impact was huge, leaving audiences unsettled and hungry for more. Now, after decades, the story returns with 28 years later. The title alone hints at a world transformed by nearly 3 decades of infection. What became of the survivors? How did the infected evolve? The new film promises answers. Danny Boyle is back in the director's chair, joined by original writer Alex Garland and star Cillian Murphy. Their reunion signals a true continuation, not just another sequel. Fans have waited nearly 20 years for this chapter. The original film's fear never faded. It lingered, unfinished. 28 years later is more than a sequel. It's an event, a return to the roots of modern horror. This time, we'll see a generation born into chaos, knowing nothing of the old world. The ruins of England are now both playground and prison. Infection is a daily threat, shaping every aspect of life. The film will explore how humanity has adapted, or failed to adapt, to a world in permanent crisis. It's a chance to see the long-term consequences of the outbreak. The horror is no longer just about survival, but about what it means to live in a world forever changed. With the original creative team back, expectations are sky high. The world of horror has been waiting for this. The wait is finally over. 28 years later is set to redefine the genre once again. The excitement is real, and the nightmare is about to begin. Before 28 days later, zombies were slow, shuffling symbols of death and decay. George Romero's classics defined the genre, but the formula was getting stale. Then Danny Boyle shattered expectations. The infected in 28 days later weren't dead. They were alive, driven mad by the rage virus. And they could run, fast. This single change made the threat immediate and terrifying. There was no time to plan, no safe distance, just pure panic. The film's frantic pace and relentless danger redefined horror. Suddenly, fast zombies were everywhere. Dawn of the Dead, World War Z, and more. Even shows like The Walking Dead felt the influence, focusing on human survival and moral collapse. 28 days later also changed the look of the apocalypse. Shot on digital video, it felt gritty and real, like you were running through empty London yourself. The iconic image of Cillian Murphy on Westminster Bridge became a symbol of isolation and dread. The film's realism made the horror hit closer to home. It wasn't just fantasy. It was our world, emptied and dangerous. This approach inspired a new wave of horror and post-apocalyptic films. The real terror wasn't just the monsters. It was what people became when society fell. 28 days later proved that the scariest stories are the ones that feel possible. Its legacy is everywhere in modern horror. The film didn't just change zombies, it changed how we see the end of the world. The genre was never the same. And now, with 28 years later, it's about to change again. 5 years after the original, 28 weeks later, expanded the nightmare. This time a new director took over, but the world remained just as terrifying. The story asked, what happens after the outbreak ends? The infected seemed to have starved, and the US military began rebuilding London. A family, torn apart by the first wave, tries to start over in a protected green zone, but safety is an illusion, one mistake, and the virus returns. The film's opening is legendary, a desperate escape, chaos, and betrayal. The violence is immediate, the panic overwhelming. When the virus resurfaces, the military's response is as brutal as the infection itself. 28 weeks later showed the horror of large-scale containment and the cost of survival. The real monsters weren't always the infected. They were often the people in charge. The film ended with a chilling image, the infection spreading to Paris. The world was no longer safe, and the story was far from over. Fans were left wondering, what happens when the virus escapes England? For years the question lingered. Now, with 28 years later, we'll finally see the next chapter. The world has grown, the stakes are higher, and the nightmare is global. The saga continues, promising even greater horrors. The infection is no longer contained. The world is the battleground. the story is about to get much bigger. For years, a third film was just a rumor. Fans hoped, but nothing happened. Danny Boyle and Alex Garland insisted they'd only return if the story was right. The idea of 28 months later floated around, but time kept passing. Hopes faded, and the saga seemed unfinished. Then, in 2024, the announcement finally came. 28 years later was real. The title shocked everyone. A massive leap into the future. What would a world look like after nearly 3 decades of infection? Even better, Boyle and Garland were both returning. The original creators were back to finish what they started. But the news didn't stop there. A whole new trilogy was planned. 28 years later would be just the beginning. This commitment meant a bigger, deeper story. The world of the rage virus would be explored like never before. Fans erupted with excitement. This was the event they'd waited for. The return of the original team made it a major moment in film. It's not just a sequel. It's a new era for the series. The anticipation is massive. After years of waiting, the nightmare is back. The story will finally continue and expand. The world is ready for the next outbreak. The big question: would Cillian Murphy return as Jim? He's now an Oscar winner, but he's back, both as executive producer and in a key role. Jim's fate has been a mystery for decades. Now we'll see how he's survived. Murphy's return connects the new trilogy to the original's heart, but it's not just about old faces. New stars join the fight. Jodie Comer, Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Ralph Fiennes. This blend of legacy and fresh talent promises a story about passing the torch. The apocalypse has a new generation and new heroes. The setting is more than a backdrop. It's a character. This time the filmmakers move beyond London to wild, reclaimed landscapes. Holy Island, cut off by tides, becomes a fortress of survival and isolation. Its ancient castle and priory add haunting atmosphere. Filming in rural northern England shows a country overtaken by nature. The ruins of towns and villages tell a story of adaptation and loss. Survivors have abandoned cities for defensible remote places. The new setting is both beautiful and dangerous. It's a fresh visual style for the series. The landscape itself reveals the scars of 28 years of horror. Danny Boyle's return is the biggest reason for excitement. His vision made the original film a classic, personal, immediate, and emotionally raw. Boyle's focus on character and atmosphere set the series apart. He and Alex Garland waited for the right story, ensuring this isn't just another sequel. With Boyle at the helm, the film promises quality, passion, and a true continuation. He knows this world better than anyone. His style guarantees a balance of horror and humanity. Fans can trust the film is in the best hands. Boyle's involvement elevates the project to a major cinematic event. 28 years later will be more than a zombie movie. It'll be a landmark in horror. Danny Boyle is pushing boundaries again, this time filming much of 28 years later on the iPhone 15. Just as digital cameras gave the original its raw look, smartphones now offer new creative freedom. The iPhone's small size allows for dynamic, immersive shots, right in the chaos. The result, a film that feels immediate, personal, and real. It's not a gimmick, it's a deliberate choice to enhance the story's urgency. Today, everyone documents life on their phones. Now the apocalypse is captured the same way. Boyle's innovation keeps the series fresh and relevant. The iPhone's realism blurs the line between fiction and reality. This approach continues the tradition of using technology to heighten terror. 28 years later will look and feel like nothing else in theaters. 28 years later hits theaters worldwide, June 20th, 2026. It's more than a sequel. It's the long-awaited conclusion to a cultural phenomenon. Fans will finally get answers about Jim, the infection, and the fate of England. The film could once again redefine the zombie genre, just as the original did. With the original team back, new ideas and fears will emerge. In a crowded genre, this film stands out as a true event. At its core, the series is about survival, hope, and the human spirit. It explores what we become when the world ends, and what we build from the ruins. By leaping 28 years ahead, the story asks, can hope survive in the aftermath? That's why we'll all be watching, because the nightmare and the questions are far from over.